Dear friends, hello everyone, and in today's video we will have a review of the new snapshot 25W17A, which takes us to the new version of Minecraft 1.21.6. In this snapshot, many new interesting features were added. The very first and most basic is cloud distance. Do not forget to like, subscribe to my channel and click the bell if you have not done so. Well, we move on to our video. So dear friends, let's move on to all the updates of this snapshot. The very first is cloud distance. If we go to the settings, video settings, then we have a new option. This is cloud distance, where we can change the distance of the clouds in Minecraft itself. To do this, you go to video settings and here are clouds. Let's set it, for example, to fancy, so that we have these clouds that are voluminous. Then here we have cloud distance, where we can change it. For example, if you set 2 chunks, then these clouds will completely disappear and there will be no clouds. To be by default, then by default this setting, unfortunately, I'm playing on Eternals now. The chunks here work very poorly, that is, I can't load a large area. Let's look over there in the distance. We see that these clouds are as much as 1-2 chunks ahead and over there, far away. An interesting feature, you can now change these clouds, but I think many will set it by default to 30 chunks, 32 for example. Well, I set chunk 31. Well, it seems to be displayed normally. You can know if this will somehow load your computer, servers, etc. I don't think so. The next thing I discovered is a bug with hints. For example, if I write some text now, a lot of some text like this, just a lot, and if I open a chat, start writing some command, that is, for example, I just put a slash, everything is displayed normally. If I start writing game mode, you can see for yourself that our hints are climbing over our text in the chat. Accordingly, if I write game mode creative, then game mode creative is written normally. Only if I write game mode and here we have hints, then for some reason the hints are climbing over the chat itself. The most interesting thing is the Locator Bar. Many are interested in how it will work on servers, how it will work in general on the main version 1.2, 1.2, 1.6 and on other versions above. I want to say right away that starting with snapshot right there in 17A, the Locator Bar is no longer an experimental function. That is, as soon as you create a regular world in Minecraft, then this Locator Bar will be enabled by default and you will be able to change it. So the gamer rule there, for example, enable or disable. In order for the Locator Bar to work, you will no longer need to create there a new function. That is, look, when you create a world, you need to go to additional features and only there you will already have the Locator Bar enabled. Let's go back to the Locator Bar. The gamer rule has now been changed for the Locator Bar. If you want to enable or disable the Locator Bar, Previously, in previous snapshots, this was a different command. It looked like a gamer who used Locator Bar, and now it is just Locator Bar, and you can set it as false or true so that your friend is not visible, or so that you are not visible in this Locator Bar. Then you can, for example, put on some head, so send kill, put on a head, and that's it. Now he is not displayed in the Locator Bar. For example, if you can't find some skeleton head or some other head, by the way, a carved pumpkin. For example, if your friend puts it on, then he is also not visible. But if you don't want, for example, to walk around with a pumpkin on your head, well, you can throw an invisibility potion, and accordingly, you see that your friend disappears and he is no longer displayed in this Locator Bar. So you drank the milk, well done. And the next thing I want to talk about is icon size. Now, if you fly away from your friend or from some player with whom you, for example, play Minecraft, if we fly away 100 blocks from your friend or from your player, look closely, that is, by default, this is such a dot, yes, and we fly away further. Now, let me fly away somewhere about 100 blocks. Then you will now notice that the dot will change depending on where you fly away. Okay, and smaller, the smallest dot there will be right in the Locator Bar. That is, the smallest dot looks like this, and it will be displayed on all 6 million blocks. That is, if you fly away there by 6,000,001 block from your friend or player with whom you play on the server, then only then will this dot completely disappear for you. And if you are there at 5 million, at 4 million blocks, and if, for example, on this server the administration has not disabled this game rule by default there, like disable it so that no players are visible at all, then you will always be visible in the Locator Bar. Well, unless, of course, you use some heads, pumpkins there, and invisibility potion, unless you move on shift and so on. That is, for example, I do not want to be visible in the Locator Bar, but this function is enabled on the server. Unfortunately, I cannot do this in any way, that is, press any button there so that I am not visible, only use these tools there, put some skulls on my head and so on. Well, in short, it's not very interesting, but somehow it works. How are these points created? That is, how is the color determined? For example, here is send kill. It has this blue, well, turquoise dot. As I understand it, send kill has a dot of a different color for me, and all this is set randomly by default. That is, you can also create teams and invite people to these teams too. Accordingly, change the color of the dot, or you can do this through Nintasva. For example, view all the dots that exist here on server. This is the TheDeinekoArtem and send kill. You can also modify, that is, right and color point. You modify and change this point, for example, for a send kill, and set the default color red and color point, as I showed you in the previous video. But you can also do this for a team add test. That is, we will create a new team called test.
And now let's write team join test sandkill and invite sandkill to this team. Now, as you can see, the point changes to dark_red,
and the Locator bar displays dark red, and you can add other people to this team, and accordingly the color will already be the one that you specified in the team itself. You can give these points to some specific other entities. For example, you can give a point for an armor stand. Again, how to do this I showed in the previous video. You can look either at the tip above or at the link in the description, and you can also write S waypoint list and look at all the points that exist on the server. Again, if you added, for example, a point for this armor stand, you could change this point, the color. But the most interesting thing is that for entities by default, it will be displayed here at the bottom. That is just a broken texture. There will be a pink-black color if I'm not mistaken, and you can change this texture already in the resource pack. That is, you can create your own resource pack and add, for example, some picture for a point. For example, upload your head or upload the head of other players and link this point to some entity. You can do this for players. For example, you have an armor stand, you link this point to the armor stand, accordingly change this point in the resource pack itself. Dear friends, this is our snapshot. In principle, there are not many updates. The previous snapshot was much more interesting, but here the updates concern cloud distance, an interesting function. I like that they finally added this feature to Minecraft. And now you can customize cloud distance for yourself and set it to 128 chunks, and so on. Some new functions for the locator, but again, I wonder how it will all look on servers with a lot of players. Fighter, I can't imagine if the locator bar is also enabled, but it will be somehow strange. Dear friends, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe to my channel, click the bell, don't forget to comment on this video. It was me, TheDeinekoArtem. Thank you all for watching. Good luck to everyone. Bye bye to everyone, friends.